Welcome to a special new style of episode that I will be doing to highlight what's been happening in the Academy. In these episodes, I want you to really be able to learn from the discoveries that members of the Academy and myself are making together, because each week we get into a Zoom room and we discuss the learnings, and oh boy, there's a lot of them. So I want you to benefit from that and at the same time understand more about the membership and see if it's something that you would like to join. So this week, we've been revising the vocabulary from Season 3, Episode 8, where I talked with Luke from Luke's English podcast about all things French. And one of the phrases that students were still struggling with was swings and roundabouts. So let's go over that one. It came up when we were talking about the younger generations and the fear of them becoming spoiled. And then Luke went on to talk about a positive thing about the younger generations by saying this. I think that generations today are more willing to talk about their feelings, whereas my grandfather's generation, he fought in the war and he must have experienced horrific things, but he never talked about them. He just buried them completely. And we've always thought that it's a pity that he was never able to deal with the trauma that he must have experienced. And that's because that was the norm at the time. But so, swings and roundabouts, Charlie, isn't it? So that was my attempt at sounding not like Charlie and more like Luke. Don't think I did it justice, but yeah, there we go. Swings and roundabouts. So this phrase is used to describe situations where the advantages and disadvantages balance each other out. So on one hand, the younger generations are more spoilt than the older generations. But on the other hand, the younger generations are more open to dealing with trauma by openly talking about their feelings than the older generations. But what we noticed in class this week is that it's a phrase that's very often used at the end of a sentence or a response that you can make to acknowledge that there are pros and cons of this thing. But the most common usage of this that I hear is actually how Luke used it. And I think it's because you're kind of mentioning the good things and the bad things about something and then realize that you've said a good thing and you've said a bad thing. And to help the other person see that you've spotted that, you then summarize the thought by saying, so swings and roundabouts, I guess. For example, we could book the morning slot, which means we'd definitely get there early and avoid any queues. But then again, it'd mean getting up at 5 a.m., which no one's really thrilled about. If we book it later, we'd get a lie-in, but we might have to deal with the crowds. So it's kind of swings and roundabouts. All right, we'll leave that phrase there for today, but hopefully you've understood a slight nuance in the way that you should use this one to sound as natural as possible. Now I want to move on to give a shout out to Gosia, who's a member of the Academy, because she exampled some English this week that was so good that I actually had to ask her if she was using a translator, ChatGPT or something else. Thankfully, she saw my comment for what it was, which was a true compliment. So let me share this example with you, and I'll try to make it as dramatized as possible. So we've got two characters, A and B, Matt and Caroline. So Caroline. Hey Matt, how you doing? How was your weekend? Oh, hi Caroline. Don't ask. We visited our parents-in-law. You know how difficult our relationship can be. Every time I go there, I feel like a fish out of water. Oh, sorry to hear that. What was wrong? It's hard to put my finger on it. End scene. Love it. She used two of the target phrases from this episode so well, which were to feel like a fish out of water, which means to feel uncomfortable, out of place, or like you don't belong in a particular situation. And then the other phrase, it's hard to put my finger on it, meaning You can sense or notice that something is wrong, unusual, or different, but you can't quite figure out exactly what it is. But I really love the little things about this bit from her homework, like the way she said, "Don't ask." It's brilliant. It's so good. It's exactly how a native would speak. So yes, very well done, Gosia. Keep it up. If you aren't aware of the process happening in the Academy by now, let me explain what happens each week. So everyone starts by listening to the same episode all together in the Academy. They then use the vocab review videos, audios, and other learning resources that I have made for them to get to grips with, or to learn, the intermediate to advanced language that came up naturally in the episode that we're all listening to in that week. They then choose a class time that suits them that week and join the group Zoom call with a homework assignment that they have already done, which is a dialogue between two people. It can be about anything they like, but the aim is to use as many of the intermediate to advanced phrases as possible in a natural way. Then myself or another teacher marks the homework in class, and we all think up more ways to use the target phrases in various ways to further our understanding of the nuances around the vocabulary. And by the end of the class, everyone has been exposed to a load of ways in which you can and cannot use the language, which is such a useful way to speed up the learning process. So if you like the sound of that, then you can join the waiting list by heading to thebritishenglishpodcast.com/academy. But I think I will leave this first episode of Inside the Academy, Language Lessons and Highlights, there for today. My name's Charlie, the host of this show, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the British English Podcast.